Hello everybody. Sorry, I started the recording 10 minutes after starting the stream. So you don't have the 10 first minutes, but the 10 first minutes were the explanations. And as the recording main purpose is for YouTube, normally on YouTube you will find the other videos with the same explanations. So hello. So today we try to improve, to make some progress on a DNS server based on Bind9 that is deployed through Podman and Ansible. And what I'd like to see... Okay, it was indeed not installed. So Ansible asked for this pip module that I thought I installed, but that's not the case. So what we'll do, as I will not rebuild the boxes now because it will take, I don't know, half an hour. It's not really streamgenic. I will install it here. Yep. Up. There. So let's destroy the environment because we use ephemeral environment. Up. Take a bit of time every time. A way to improve that could be in the future to use Firecracker instead of libvirt. But I want to do something that is the most general as possible, so libvirt and Ubuntu. And we redeploy. Let's go. So it will recreate the virtual machines, and inside these VMs, it will deploy through Ansible what we need. So, while it deploys, what I would like to do is here to be able to have a loop that loops through the zones to create these files. Here, file, zone root, domain, zone DB, and file, zone, CIDR, reverse DB. The templates are there, and the idea is that I create a loop here and the same loop here. Maybe I have to improve and look a bit more the doc for config maps, because I'd like to use a config map instead of a mount point because it's cleaner. The config map will stay inside the pod domain, and the mount point not. So I prefer the config maps. Hello, Niliam. How are you? Long time. Fine. I'm fine. I'm still using Ansible, still deploying stuff with Ansible. And I use Kube manifest, but with Podman. So there are some peculiarities that I have to check. Long time, yes. I will try to stream more now, but I can't guarantee once a week. I can't. I will try. Cool. Hello, Nico. How are you? Still in Ansible and YML? Yeah. I mean, it's YML is everywhere now. In Ansible, in Kubernetes, everywhere. Ansible is slowly losing a bit of gravitas, but still really there for everything that is not yet containerized. Today a bit tired, to be honest. What about you? I stayed home today, so I walked, but I didn't have to go out, so that's okay. So you discover my streams, Nico. Same here. Exactement. So, yeah, to catch up. What I tried to do there is to deploy a Kubernetes cluster with Ansible and with only open source technologies. No dependencies towards the cloud or anything. Therefore, that means that in order to deploy a Kube cluster correctly, I have to deploy other services first. One for the network, that's done with WireGuard. One for the DNS, that's done with Bind9, and that's what I'm currently doing, developing a Bind9 server. I need also a vault to store secrets. I need an etcd cluster to store the memory of Kube, and I need a BGP zone to be able to publish IP address to the outside world. Once that's done, then we can start deploying the Kube cluster. So as you can see here, I use Livirt as my hypervisor. I run one virtual machine for the provisioner, for Ansible itself, and I run 3 virtual machines for this small beginning of a cluster. And what I'm struggling with currently is the correct way to implement config map in a Kube manifest, which is not a standard one, because this one is supposed to be handled by Podman instead of Kubernetes. But I hope that once the config works correctly, the Bind server should work more or less correctly. Bind9 is DNS. Yes, Bind9 is one implementation to do a DNS, domain name server. Yeah. And the use case I have with it is to be able to translate the IPs of the nodes, the IPs of these nodes, into domain names, because in Kubernetes Kubernetes needs to sign CSR coming from kubelet, and these kubelet services are the representation of the nodes from the Kubernetes point of view. So that means that Kubernetes needs to be able to do the translation between domain names and IPs for these nodes. So we need a DNS. K8s has it already integrated. It has it integrated for its own stuff. Yes, for its own stuff. But the VM, the virtual machines below Kube, are not part of its own stuff. So we need an external service to tell Kube that the nodes Kube relies on have these IP domain name association. It's needed, for instance, for these. Let me check. Where is it? This role, kubelet CSR approver, which is in charge of checking that the node is the correct one and to sign the certificate provided by the node to Kube. So that's a way to automate the adding of nodes. You just add a new node in the Ansible inventory and everything is done automatically. So as I said, to deploy it currently, it roughly takes 10 to 12 minutes, which is long. It's too much, but that's due to the fact that I test my stuff with the minimum amount of resources. And as I showed at the beginning of the stream, the nodes I use have only one CPU and 1 GB of RAM. So that's why some processes are very, very long. So if you look at the structure of the parameters, the structure is complex, but it's on purpose, because that way we have a maximum of properties that we can automate just by having a correct structure of data. Here, for instance, this one is to add custom DNS records. You have the domain name, you have the networks these domain name belongs to, and the IPs these domain names is associated to, and you can also add custom text. And to have a zone, You aggregate multiple sources of domains. You associate them to a root domain, to a CIDR, and to a networks of access control. In our case, it's the same as the CIDR, but it can be a bit different. Found a tab character that violates indentation. Line 26. Okay, so it's inside these. It's a bit hard to debug. Maybe. Because we do nested templating. So let's check. Pop, pop, pop. Up, up. Okay, this one is not correctly indented. Up. Okay. Let's try first. Let's try first by disabling the config map completely to check if the rest of the manifest is correct. Okay. So, ephemeral environments. So we destroy our environment completely, our virtual machines, and then we rebuild them to test again. So that way we are sure that we have clean environments to test upon. Let's redeploy. let's check the config map doc a bit, because I want to be sure that I understood it correctly. For binding a file as a configuration. The deployment broke. It happens sometime. Let's clean it. Okay, game properties, UI properties. Add config map data to a volume. Name config volume. Special config data. Yeah, the command section lists directory files with names that match the keys in config map. So the keys are the file names. Yeah, I understood that correctly. Ah, and if you want to change the path, okay, I understand. So that means that's config volume etc config. I don't need to add that. Just like that. That should work. So, if I understand correctly, in the volume mount here, you will have in /etc/bind inside the container the suite of files, the key being the file name and the value being the file content. Okay. Is the environment clean? Yes. So let's build the artifact and redeploy. Up. So, as usual, it's a slow stream. We are not hyperactive here. So, let's wait. So, if I understand correctly, here I will have a name.conf file in /etc/bind. So if that works, that means that the template for reverse DB and zone DB, I will integrate them through a loop here. I will need only a loop here, and that should work. So if it works, so the reverse here is to do the IP to domain name, and the zone is to do the domain name to IP, roughly. So if it works, then the next step will be to have a replication master slave here to ensure that if we start multiple DNS, they will talk to each other and synchronize their DB. And the test afterwards will be easy. We will use dig, the dig command. We'll point toward the DNS, ask for a domain name, and check the record that dig provides us. So let's start an app. Okay. So we wait patiently for the same thing every time. One of the main problems I find in the Debian Ubuntu world is that the apt command is very slow for everything. It's not immutable, it's slow, the PPAs are slow. So yeah. One way to improve that would be to have our own repos. It will come later. Integrated inside GitLab, for instance. There is also something that will be a service later. The rotation of the SSH keys. The ability to have the SSH keys signed by the CA and their rotations. Another service would be also to have an IDP, to have a correct IAM for the whole services. Unix users from the VMs as well. Because we can have the sudo LDAP package that integrates sudo with LDAP. But one step at a time. Let me think. So normally there, that should work. So let's hope everything is correct. And 4 and 4. Quiet moments. So that means also that I can clean that now. And that normally I don't need that. Yeah. So the only integration points with the node, the VM, is the stateful set here. That's the only integration point left for this service. Not bad. If it works. The thing is, maybe I should create another VS Code command to debug more easily the Podman Kube plays, because we lose time redeploying from scratch for just peculiarities that are related to a very specific step, the Podman step. So what could be a way? Found character that cannot start any token. What does it mean? Line 27. Okay. It really has a problem, the include. Doesn't like it. Do I have access to the inside? Normally, yes. Yep. Okay. Do I use the mount point for the provisioner? Pum, pum, pum. How do I call it? Ah yes, the background file is there. Okay. Synced folder. So does it work? No, doesn't take the changes. So I will do them like that. Okay. And do I deploy from scratch or? Yeah, let's deploy from scratch. So from here I deploy through that command. Yes. Ansible playbook. Fetch the correct inventory. And then converge. Huh. Has changed. Yes, it changed. Of course it changed. It's one of the step. So where is my script? Test run. Here. Source converge. Okay. So let's go for source converge. Then wait, but converge from who? Ah, yeah. Ansible host key checking. Yeah. There you are. Okay. So normally it will be faster because we will only use idempotency, so we won't install any new stuff. Instead, the Podman stuff. So you see, it's faster. Maybe I should create a specific playbook just for the test. where I call only the podman stuff. So this one, even just this one. Perhaps. Yeah, I could do. Yes, perhaps I could create an import playbook that reuses the one, because here these steps there are from the WireGuard one. It's copy pasted, but it's this one. In Ansible, you can import playbooks in other playbooks, so to have a dependency between playbooks. I could do that to have a converge playbook that calls this one and another specific to the service we want to test. Perhaps it will make iteration faster. Yeah. Because still it's not yet that fast. I will just write the steps to improve my iteration. Because I can iterate there without a lot of bias due to the fact that everything is in a container. For WireGuard itself, it will be harder because WireGuard impacts the whole VM. But here, as everything is inside a container, I could do that. A sort of service.yml. Wrong command. Up. Debug. Up. Yeah, that will make things faster. Just the Bind9. Okay. Yeah, I implemented my stuff thinking about Liskov inversion. I should use it completely. Inverse. Ansible. Include playbook in playbook. Import playbook. Yeah. Yeah. Import playbook. So here we will basically have one, which is the service, and the other, the previous one, which is WireGuard Ubuntu /converge. Yeah. That way I will iterate faster, if it works. And the structure is nicer as well. You can really differentiate what is related to the service, so to the custom piece that this playbook suite is supposed to test, and what is related to the dependencies which are there. Uh-huh. The question is, which var file does this import playbook take? Mm-hmm. We'll test that. Oh, perfect. We have another error before. Fail to look up user owner. Huh. GIG 0 user. Okay. Ah, I know why. I know why I have this error. Yes, shit. It's due to that. These user there, Copenhagen's user, it's a random user that is created at the beginning, and as I called the playbook without noticing it. What could I do? We have the install here that declares it for the whole deployment. And we should ensure that we have the same. That's a good question. How can I ensure that? Debug, two-step. Fetch for it in the env of the VM. Yeah. We export it afterwards, and then we can reuse our playbook. Okay. So now we improved the development, the feedback loop. So we'll iterate a bit faster. Let's destroy everything and test if everything works. Okay. So let's rebuild the artifact. Okay. Let's redeploy. Does it work? We'll see. With what parameters does it work? We'll see. You see 1 CPU, 1 gigabyte of RAM. It's not a lot. But still it runs. Slowly, but it runs. And it will be far below the possibilities of a Raspberry Pi, so that's good. We can test even some performance stuff with the Raspberry Pi. Raspberry Pi 5, of course. I will try to get some of them to start my cluster. Okay. So, it seems to call the WireGuard Ubuntu converge.oml correctly. Cool. 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 Yeah, this small trick will be good. Because that way that means that every morning I redo the boxes, I redeploy once, and then I can iterate fast with just calling the service. So, not bad. And that's normally, the iteration is normally correct because the drift is controlled due to the fact that we use Podman. We use containers. Cool. And no waiting for PPAs and stuff like that. Perfect. Like that. There, we are waiting for PPAs for nothing. But APT needs to build the cache and needs to do its lock. Yeah. By the way, everything is idempotent? Yes. Cool. As you can see, idempotency is there. Perfect. provisioner. Fetch for it in the area of the provisioner VM. Yeah. Yes, that's something else that I have to check. When Podman will try to run the manifest file, if it fails, I have to check the manifest file itself to see why it fails. And we wait for the PPA. But next stream, normally we won't have to wait. Because I will use for Podman and for all the others, I will use this kind of mechanism, this service file that calls Podman. Yes, I should improve that because, yeah, actually Podman should be a separate playbook. Yes, that's, yeah, I should do that. Let me think. Yes, Podman Ubuntu. Okay. Inside, I put a var directory. I put a main.yml file that is empty. Okay, and I put Podman Ubuntu. I put converge. Let's do that properly. And the service. Okay. Converge is the same as here. And the service is slightly different. Yeah. Yes. It's slightly different in the sense that it will check Podman deploy. Podman nodes or satellites nodes. Satellites nodes, and it deploys Podman. Okay, so that means I have to rewrite my background file here to create these satellites node section that encompasses the same if I remember correctly, you can add that way, right? I think so. Groups of groups. Ansible inventory. Group of groups. Host. Grouping groups. Prod. Children. Okay, you have to put children. Okay. Children. Rusty memories. Children and indentation. Okay. So now we have Podman in its own group that we can target specifically and differently from Bind9. So here we have our Podman stuff, satellites nodes. Just to be sure, satellite in English, it's 1T2L, right? Satellite. Yes, 1T2L. Yeah. Okay. Podman deploy. Do we have something related to Podman? Let's use that as example here. Okay. And that way we can now target specifically Podman from its own playbook. That means that we can debug without even the hassle of waiting for Podman installation. Podman Ubuntu service. Okay, perfect. Because as you can see, we are stuck for I don't know how long on the very beginning of the script. So we really need to clean that up. Let's clean it the big way. French, I know. Okay. And now let's rebuild that. We can even go further because, for instance, in WireGuard, we use Linux as the first step before WireGuard itself. So, in order to do it properly, we should even have a Linux Ubuntu playbook where we run only the Linux hardening, and WireGuard calls it, etc., etc. So I would do that. That way we can really target what we want to test. Okay, we have that separated from the rest. Now we will do a service for WireGuard. Okay, where we put everything related to WireGuard. Okay. In Converge, we put the same stuff as the rest, roughly. The only difference is that here we will put a Linux Ubuntu. Yeah. Okay. So that will fetch for this one, run this one, then it will run WireGuard as a service. Okay. Then that means that in Podman we need also to call Linux Converge. Then WireGuard service. Okay. In Linux Ubuntu, we don't need anything. In Bind9, we need Linux, Converge, and WireGuard service. Okay. Perfect. We improved our stuff. And it's still stuck here. I think at this time of the day, generally the PPA's repos are not in very good shape. Yeah. But that's good because what I did there, just right now, that means that for the next stream, for instance, we won't have to use the PPA repo anymore during the stream. So we won't have to wait as we waited today. So let's kill that again. Up. And let's rebuild our stuff. Okay, up. I didn't do any typo, did I? No, it doesn't seem so. Perfect. And the fact that I put Ubuntu into the directory path for the playbooks, make it possible to parameterize it and later to provide playbooks for and roles for what I target specifically will be Flatcar Linux. I'd like to have an Ansible collection that can also run on an immutable system like Flatcar Linux, and maybe NixOS, but I know that NixOS and Ansible do not play so well together. It's not NixOS is not supposed to be managed through Ansible. But let's start with the most common one, Ubuntu. So we have Linux called separately. Play Linux hardening. Okay, perfect. That works like a charm. Perfect. It will stuck until the end of the stream, I fear. But anyway, we made some progress. We have this new way of debugging, which is far more efficient. And now I know roughly how to handle the multiple zones. I will call them through this config map. Cool. Cool. Oh! It moved. Oh ho ho. Let's wait a bit. Cool. It works. Let me think. Yes, that's true. I should re-enable the Twitch highlighter. Currently it's not. Dave, my bot. The bot is currently broken, so it doesn't appear in the chat, it doesn't appear anywhere. But I'd like to rewrite it completely indifferently, so I will not re-enable it until I start this project. So for the renewal of the certificates, once the Vault is enabled, so I think the implementation will be HashiCorp Vault. Currently, there is not really any alternative in the open source world for Vault, for infrastructure. So HashiCorp Vault will it be. So the way of renewing the certificates will be through sidecars. I will do Vault client sidecar that will renew the certificates for all the other services outside Kubernetes. And inside Kubernetes, Kubernetes itself will integrate with Vault through Cert Manager and will handle that. Another sidecar will be for the metrics Prometheus exports. And yeah, that's something I have to check for Bind9. Does Bind9 provides Prometheus metrics? Bind exporter, yeah, okay. So I need a sidecar for Bind to export the metrics to Prometheus. Okay. Hey bro, do you monitor? No, sorry. I don't have time for that. How are you? Sorry. Good, starting learning Python at the moment. Okay, cool. What do you do right now? So, I'm deploying a platform. Actually, I'm developing a platform and I will deploy it later. The idea is that I install a Kubernetes-based platform, so a platform with a lot of API, of tools for the developers to develop their stuff, only with open source technologies. And what you see behind me is an Ansible playbook, so it's configuration manager / orchestrator that is there to automate the deployment. So I wrote the playbook, and now it runs behind the scene, and it deploys 3 virtual machines, so three servers, if you want. They are there, 3 servers, and that install inside the servers the services I need. So in our case, a network done with a tool called WireGuard, a network that binds the servers together, and a DNS. A DNS is a server that is there to translate an IP into a domain name and vice versa. So that's what I'm currently developing. Then I will develop a vault to store secrets. I will develop an etcd cluster, which is a sort of database, but very efficient. And I will develop the Kube cluster itself that will run a lot of things. Was it clear? That's too much for my brain, bro. Yeah, slowly it will come. What you need to know is that as you started Python, as you can see, network error happens sometimes. So what you need to know as you started Python, your Python code has to run somewhere. I do this somewhere. That's basically the idea. I do the somewhere where people can store their Python code, can store their websites, store their databases, and so on and so on. So what I do are the missing links for people in order for them to easily deploy their database, websites, Python scripts, whatever. That's so advanced. How long have you been in the industry? More than 10 years. More than 10 years, and yeah, start to be a bit long. I think, yeah, maybe it's 11 or 12 years. What do you think about the first language? What do you mean? The first language you want to learn? Yeah, so you learn Python. Python is a good idea because Python is used in a lot of contexts. So that way you can take your time to choose what you like in the IT. Python can be used for web. Python can be used to run infrastructure, like I do. Ansible is coded with Python. Python can be used for machine learning. Python can be used for big data. Python can be used for security. So if you learn Python, you will be able to use it in multiple contexts. So as a first language, it's good. Yeah. Then later, maybe more strongly typed, more object-oriented language. So in the oldies you have Java, in the newbies you have Rust, but Rust is very the learning curve is stiff at the beginning. I hope I answered your question. So should I really be good at Python first before learning another language? No. Actually, you should not be really good at Python. You should be really good at programming. That's not quite the same thing. You should from Python take it as an implementation of concepts, but you should learn the concept. You should master the concept. So the idea of object-oriented, of strongly typed variables, of loop for and so loop logic structures, of course, that you should be strong at it. You should understand the concept. The language then is there to implement the concept, to help you to have a feedback loop to understand the concept. So it's not bad to start another language at the same time as Python, because that way you can see different implementations of the same concept or discover other concepts that are specific to the language. So yeah, start another language if you want, no problem. You're welcome. So as I said, it takes a lot of time because at the time of the day, the PPAs from Ubuntu are full. So they are very slow, and refreshing the packages is very, very slow. So, but the restructure I did there will help us for the next streams, because in that case, in the next stream, we'll just enable this playbook and not the others. And this playbook is only the deployment of Bind9, of the DNS. And for the DNS, we don't need the PPAs, as long as they are already installed in the VM. So we won't have this problem normally. So, seeing, oh, ooh, I spoke too fast. It seems to work. It seems to work. Yeah, cool. So, first playbook is about reinforcing Linux, making it more secure. Then, second playbook recreates this mesh network with WireGuard. Third playbook, we installed Podman, and fourth playbook, we installed the Bind server. Fifth playbook, Vault. Sixth playbook, etcd. Seventh playbook, BGP. Eighth playbook, Kube. Quiet moment. I will increase the music and fade my voice because we start to be at the end of the stream. Next stream, I don't know when yet. I will try to do one per week, but I'm not sure yet. So, if you are interested in platform and DevOps, Limawi. And for the replays, you can find the playlists on YouTube. We have playlists in English and playlists in French, because as you can hear with the accent, I'm a French native speaker. So that's it for today. We did some progress, but still it's not there. Next stream. Until then, the replay. I say goodbye. I will stop the recording now.